The School for Good and Evil, directed by Paul Fieg, is the newest Netflix film to hit the platform. Featured some solid performances from its ensemble cast, some decent storytelling, and unfortunately a few things that makes the film not reach the potential that it easily could get to. I'm Chainsaw Reacts. This is my review for The School for Good and Evil. Now, to be honest with you guys, I'm not familiar with the book series this film is based off of, so all I can really go on is what does this film actually accomplish? What does it bring to the table with this roughly 2.5 hour runtime? For me, overall, the film is fine. When you actually dive into particular characters, some particular story moments, and the tone of the film, all that, that's where you get into where it's more mixed. This film overall is fine. I wasn't blown away. I will have to say, though, that this film definitely has a budget. You can definitely tell that they had a budget to get certain set locations and especially the visual effects in regards to the magic. Now, obviously, I saw the trailers before watching this film, and the two lead characters, Sophie and Agatha, are definitely interesting characters for sure to lead this film and to see the journey of Sophie, the one who kind of goes down a dark path. We see that in the trailers. I think that was interesting, and I feel like the actor did her best to kind of portray this good, lighthearted girl and then going down this dark path due to some story things that happen in the film. But in terms of Agatha, I feel like her character really didn't grow too much throughout the film, which is kind of an issue. Now, for me personally, once you get past Sophie and Agatha, the two lead characters of this story, every other character, to an extent, is unlikable. And that's a major issue, unless it was intended, but I don't think that's intended. I don't think that the whole entire premise of the story is supposed to be based around the idea of only liking the two lead characters to an extent. Obviously, Sophie, that's kind of questionable with some of the decisions she makes, and even Agatha too. But once you get into all these other characters, I'm not sure the idea was for them to be unlikable, but for me, a lot of them were. And maybe that's the whole point of character growth in this story, because there is a major shift in a lot of these characters when you get towards the end of the film. And maybe that's where things are going to turn around. But when the majority of the film, I'm not really rooting for any of these other characters outside of the two leads in terms of like really paying attention and really hoping, certain things happen or certain outcomes. I'm just kind of sitting there just seeing what's going to happen. I'm not really that invested in these other characters that much. I feel like that's an issue. As I mentioned earlier, the visual effects really do stand out, and I feel like the magic used in this film is definitely interesting, and definitely some of the magical creatures that are involved in this as well, I think was also pretty interesting as well. And it made me wonder, like, how detailed this stuff was in the books, because like I said, I've not read them, so I'm not sure what exactly was pulled over what if there were some changes made, I'm not really sure. But in terms of the magic being used, and the actual fantastical elements in terms of the creatures that are obviously not real creatures in our world, I feel like that was a pretty good job, and that was actually some of the better elements of the film, which is good, because especially if the magic fell flat, this film would have not worked. Let's talk about Kerry Washington and Charlize Theron in this film. I feel like they get enough to do in this film, and the marketing is definitely pushing them more, and I feel like overall they get enough screen time to warrant their list in the cast ranking, but I kind of wish they were in the film a little bit more, but they're in it just enough to justify how important they are to the story, but obviously they're not the lead character, so it makes sense. But I kind of wish they had more to do, especially in the third act. Ultimately, they're not the lead characters. They're really a means to an end in regards to certain storytelling and certain story points. So I understand why they weren't given a lot to do in this film, but only particular things that really need to happen to get from point A to point B in regards to Abigail and Sophie. But like I said, I wish they had more to do, but it is what it is. Lawrence Fishburne, great actor. I really feel like he was underused in this film. I really felt like he was just kind of there just to have Lawrence Fishburne in the credits. It really felt like to me that there was so much more they could have done with his character, especially like his kind of character. I'm like, they could have done more with him. Like, I felt like they could have had a couple more scenes easily with his character, and unfortunately they don't. I do want to briefly talk about this because I kept thinking about this as I was watching the film and then finishing the film, the whole premise of the School for Good and Evil. The whole evil thing of it. Why exactly are we teaching kids to be evil, to use magic in horrible ways, and to go out and kill people? I mean, there's even a line from Charlize Theron's character saying you can't kill anybody till after you graduate. Why are we doing this? And I understand, because in Star Wars with Jedi and Sith, when one rises, the other rises to meet it to keep that balance. But my question is, why are we doing this? Because they say something about the balance and everything, but they really don't talk about, unless I completely missed it, the ramifications of what would happen if we stopped teaching kids to be evil. Like, and I get it. This whole school for good and evil is about the fairy tales of villains and heroes, and they're actually real, like they're based off real people, all that kind of stuff. But still, like, I don't understand why we're teaching kids to be evil, to use magic and kill people. I don't understand why this is happening, because I would think if there is no school to teach these kids to be heroes or villains, that we wouldn't probably have all these issues, because they make a point as well to say it's about people having choices and to follow their own path. I'm sorry, if your path is to go down a dark path to kill people and to be a villain, you shouldn't be taught how to do that at a school. I just had to be honest, because I was just like, I understand the whole balancing thing, but they really don't go into specifics about what happens if things fall out of balance. You know, I'm not really sure. Just something I kind of wish they would have addressed a little bit more in regards to why we're teaching kids to be evil. As I was saying in the intro, Paul Fieg is the director of this film, and I feel like overall he did a pretty good job directing this film. I kind of wish at times, tonally, this film took itself a little bit more seriously at times, because there's a couple of points I'm like, weird music choice there, and that's weird how that was shot or whatever. And I think overall it's solid, you know, in terms of following the story from beginning to end. But I felt like there's particular moments where we could have got more serious, because there's some high level stakes stuff happening here in regards to the story that's being told and how bad this could be for the world and everything happening right now. But it feels like at times we're not taking it too seriously, and I kind of wish that was changed a little bit. I'm also curious, as I've not read the books, what exactly was omitted from this, because I'm assuming there were certain things that were cut from the book that are not here present in the film, and maybe some changes being made. I'm not really sure, but I'm curious if that did happen. And I'm also thinking too, if there was stuff cut from the book because of time, which this movie's already almost 2.5 hours, maybe this would have worked better as a limited series, maybe like a 8-episode, you know, one-off season. I'm not really sure, but I think that would have been an interesting direction to maybe see, because like I said, I don't know if anything was cut from the book, but if it did happen, maybe it could have worked better as a series versus a film. I feel like overall the film is definitely worth the watch if you have any interest in it. And in regards to Netflix films, I feel like this is definitely a better Netflix film than compared to a lot of their other stuff they put out. Now, they've put out some good, solid films over the years, but I feel like this is definitely on the better side in regards to Netflix original films, so definitely recommend giving it a watch. Overall, I think the film was worth the watch. Definitely had some interesting moments for sure in regards to the story, some character moments, all that kind of stuff, and definitely the ending. Curious to see what that all means. But anyways, that's the review. I'm curious to know what you guys think of the film, and are you excited to see it? If you haven't seen it yet, let me know in the comments below. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.